All right, let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers looking to put last Sunday's dismantling at the hand of the San Francisco 49ers firmly in the rearview window. We are focused on the Cleveland Browns coming up on Monday Night Football. And I think the Steelers, in preparation for the Browns, have made a really smart move this week that I think will really help them as they prepare themselves against a really good Browns defense.
Yeah, Nick, I think the Steelers can make some strides because this is a Browns team that they know. They play all the time, so I think this is going to be a much better matchup for them than the 49ers, who are an absolute juggernaut. I think anybody is going to have problems with that team, but nonetheless, Steelers fans, you know the Browns inside and out, so you're going to be the ones to give us the best prediction for this Monday night's game versus the Browns in the comments below. What are your predictions for the score of Monday night's Browns versus Steelers matchup? Let us know in the comments section below. But Nick, let's get on into it. What is the good news for the Steelers?
Yeah, so obviously coming off what happened against San Francisco, it doesn't feel like there'll be a lot of good news, right? That's a game that just was ugly on all accounts, especially on the offensive side of the ball. It's not going to get too much easier for the Steelers as they go to Cleveland to play the Browns, who looked really good against Joe Burrow and that Bengals offense last week. New Browns defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz reportedly, and just looking at the film, it was clear, it was obvious to anyone who saw it, confused the heck out of the Bengals offense and threw them for a loop all game long. The Steelers have to make sure that doesn't happen, and they made a really smart move to kind of help that. Let's go into this report, and I'll talk about why this is a really smart move, and then we can go deeper into this game. This is from Steelers Now, Mize. If you want to throw it up, I will read from it. When the Pittsburgh Steelers lost right tackle Chuck Okafor late in Sunday's season opener against the San Francisco 49ers, rookie first-round pick Broderick Jones got the call. Jones played all 4 snaps, getting a quick first look at the NFL level in his first pro game. And he played those snaps at left tackle with starter Dan Moore Jr. moving over to the right side to replace Okafor. I think I did pretty well just sticking to my roots and sticking to what Coach Pat Meyer taught me, Jones said. But here's the important part. With Okafor in the concussion protocol and less than a full participant in Wednesday's practice, the Steelers did it the other way. Moore stayed at left tackle and Jones played right. And as of right now, that has not changed. Okafor obviously is still in concussion protocol. Broderick Jones has been playing right tackle in practice. They've been keeping Moore at left tackle. Here's why this is really smart. Because at first thought, you're just like, that doesn't make any sense. You got the rookie Jones. He's more familiar at left. Put him in a spot he's more familiar. Moore's the veteran. Move him to right tackle. It just seems a little bit more logical that way. Maybe, it isn't. Here's why. And the Steelers are smart for doing it this way. The Browns, with Jim Schwartz as their defensive coordinator, confuse the heck out of quarterbacks. They did it against Joe Burrow. Jim Schwartz has made a career out of doing it. He's one of the smartest, most creative defensive minds at football. He's kind of under the radar with how good he is at it. When you are going into a matchup like this and you've got Kenny Pickett, you've got injuries at wide receiver, right? You're going into this situation. You want to remove all variables that could potentially be confusing. So right now the Steelers are like, okay, instead of having essentially 2 different tackles, right? Because moving more from left to right, that's a change. That's a different right tackle. And moving in Jones to left tackle, that would be a different left tackle. That's 2 new variables at the most important offensive line position for Kenny Pickett to deal with, on top of a complex and talented Browns defense. Instead, you reduce it to 1 variable. Makes it a lot easier, a lot less for Pickett to manage, a lot less for the other offensive linemen to manage. When you're playing a complex and talented defense, the answer is always simplify, simplify, simplify. That's exactly what the Steelers are doing, but putting Broderick Jones at right tackle if Okafor can't go. I think it's a really smart move. It's a great tactical decision as they prepare to play a really good Browns team. But Miles, let me throw it over to you now. What are your thoughts on this decision by the Steelers and just everything as we get ready for this matchup?
Well, yeah, Nick, I think this is a very smart move. Like you said, limiting the variables gives you net positive in the cohesiveness of the play of the offensive line. When everybody's more comfortable, it's going to be better. And we got to remember there's already a new variable in this offensive line coming into the season with addition of left guard Isaac Samalu coming into the mix. They've had all offseason, but it's just not the same when it's like the real thing. It's going to take you a second to get up to speed and make sure everybody is playing cohesively. So putting everyone in, not really kind of switching things up too much, I think is going to give them the best short-term answer to the Cleveland Browns. It's not about the long-term health at this point because we're expecting Okafor potentially to get out of concussion protocol and be back the very next week. So they don't need a long-term answer at this point. So why mix it up too much? While Jones could be the future of this team at the one of the tackle positions, potentially left tackle, it doesn't need to be that way right now. So I think this is a really great decision by Tomlin and the Steelers offensive line coach just to make this decision that limits, like we said, the the changes to this offensive line, the things that they have to learn to redo with the new guy beside you, because it is very difficult. You can attest to that, Nick. It's not an easy thing switching positions on the fly all the time. It really can mess you up going from one side to the other. I think it's a really smart move by the Steelers, and like I said, this gives them the best opportunity to go up against the Browns.
Especially when you consider the situation that the Steelers are in, right? Losing, even if of course it's a bad loss to San Francisco last week, that's not a season ender by any means. San Francisco, like you mentioned, they're a juggernaut. They're one of the best teams in the NFL. Losing to the Cleveland Browns in interdivision to fall to 0-2 earlier in the year, that's tough. It's not the end of the season by any means. That's a tough hole to dig yourself out of. It's more important to focus on the short-term tactical right now. Now it's not the time to focus on, well, where do we think Broderick Jones is going to play in 2025? No, focus on what you need to do to win this week. That's what Mike Tomlin has done a phenomenal job his entire career in Pittsburgh. And I think this is just another example of it right here.